Chapter 21. A few kids were scattered around the lunchroom, eating breakfast, but Velveeta wasn't there. Travis wandered past her locker a few times. Maybe she was still mad at him for walking out on her at the library Monday. That seemed so long ago. Now, she didn't show up first period either. Where could she be? Something must be wrong. He kept Haunt Fox tucked inside one of his textbooks and worked on it all morning. He went over and over the words he knew and circled the unknown ones farther ahead. Hey, Travis. Bradley came up behind him in the lunch line. Where's Velveeta? How should I know? Travis pulled away. Ask her yourself. I can't. She's not here. Travis got his food and sat at the usual table, kitty corner from Amber and her book. He pulled out Haunt Fox. Amber's eyes roved back and forth over her pages quickly, and she flipped a page. Travis tried to move his eyes fast over the first line, but he lost words. He was headed back to his locker after lunch when Chad Cormack shouldered up next to him. Hey, Roberts, want to fight me? He asked. He nudged Travis, then danced back, both fists up, grinning. No. Yeah, you do. Come on, show me how it's done. He tapped Travis on the shoulder again, fake punched toward his head, and kept his feet dancing. Travis turned away, and Chad danced around in front of him. Come on, dude. Why you gotta be so like that? He pointed at his chin. Right here, come on, just one. Travis shifted the book in his left hand, brought his fist up, and dinged Chad on the jaw. Hard, but not mean. Chad twirled, fell to the floor, and popped back up. Check it. You didn't even put your book down to deck me. Roberts, you are the mulio. He lightly slapped Travis on the side of the head, hopped backward, and spun away, like a fox pup bouncing down the hall. Velveeta would have loved that. Where was she, anyway? After the last bell, Travis poked his head into room 134. Grandpa had gotten a letter from school about parent-teacher conferences. He'd never gone to one before, but he'd been talking as if he might actually do it. What's on your mind? Asked McQueen. What do you tell parents at conferences? We go over your work and your grades on assignments and talk about any problems or anything that's going especially well. Why? Is there something you do or don't want me to tell your parents? My grandpa, said Travis, if he comes. He might not, but if he does, he doesn't know, you know. Doesn't know you have trouble reading? Not exactly. And you don't want him to know? McQueen raised his eyebrows to the ceiling. Well, I want him to know I'm doing good if he comes. I'll tell him you're doing well, that you're one of my best students. I won't go into specific details about the work unless he asks. But if he asks, I'll answer every question honestly. How's that? That's good. Travis pushed out the double doors and into the cold breeze. One of my best students. The sky was sun-sharp blue, and leaves skittered along the sidewalk. A good day to lie on the merry-go-round and watch the trees spin. Travis headed for the park, but stopped short in the alley. Hard, mean laughter smacked out from a huddle by the slide. He flattened against the building and peeked around the corner. 3 of the guys from the picnic table had Bradley backed against the ladder. The tall guy with long, dark hair, Maddox, laughed again. Chilson said something in a low voice, and Travis caught a glimpse of Bradley's face. He was scared half to death, actually crying. He'd been nice to Travis in the locker room, didn't even say a word about it later. And anyway, 3-on-1 was too much for anyone, especially Bradley. Travis dropped his backpack off of his shoulder and pushed away from the building. Whistler, he yelled. Look, Chilson, said Maddox. It's Skinny Boy from the bridge. What do you want, Skinny Boy? Travis pushed through and grabbed Bradley by the front of his jacket, jerking him away from the slide. Bradley was so startled he almost fell over, but Travis hauled him upright and gave him a hard shove. Did you think I was kidding? Yelled Travis. Pay up, or I'll kill you. Oh, look, said Chilson. Bradley's popular today. What do you want with him, Skinny Boy? None of your business, said Travis. Ooh, Maddox took a step back with his hands in the air. Tough guy. The short guy in the monster truck t-shirt laughed. Travis grabbed Bradley again by the collar and yanked him, making space between them and the 3 guys. He started walking fast toward the bleachers, dragging Bradley with him. Don't cry, Bradley, called Maddox. Don't cry, boo-hoo-hoo, Bradley. Travis pulled Bradley up past the back of the tavern toward Main Street and let him go as soon as they were out of sight. Bradley crumpled on the ground next to the building. Bradley, get up, they might follow us. Travis stepped to the corner of the building and looked back at the playground. Monster truck had found Travis's backpack by the building. He opened it and pulled out Haunt Fox. Travis turned to Bradley. Stay there, he said. That guy had his book. If he opened it, he'd see the pencil marks. What if he ripped it up? You can't go around hitting people. Grandpa's voice spoke in his head as he stopped back across the park. Chilson spotted Travis and grinned. Monster Truck tossed the book on the ground. Hey, skinny boy, said Chilson. You think I'm stupid? You think I fell for that? Travis stopped about 5 feet away. Maddox and Monster Truck moved up, one on each side. Travis took a couple steps back so he could watch all three of them. What do you want? Asked Chilson. You saved your girlfriend. Now get out of here before we kick your skinny ass. If Travis looked at the book, if they knew how much he wanted it, he'd never get it back. Why pick on Bradley? He asked. He's like half your size. Point, Chilson nodded. But you're not, so you think you can take all three of us? Travis looked them over, and one at a time, then centered back on Chilson. Probably not, but maybe. You think you're pretty tough, huh? Said Maddox. He stepped in, chesting up close. Travis knocked him back. He shoved, and Travis shoved harder. Maddox stumbled and almost went down. Travis's hands came up into fists, and he felt the heat moving through him, pumping, but not boiling over. Maddox bounced back, and Travis zeroed in, gauging the distance between them. Hey, look, said Chilson, there's Bradley Cakes. I guess he's going to save you. Shit, said Monster Truck. He's on a phone. Travis looked, but didn't turn to look. He kept his eyes nailed on Maddox, who was moving in. You know what, skinny boy? Chilson shouldered between them. He pointed his finger at Travis's nose. I like you. You've got guts. I'll stomp his guts, said Maddox. Not now, said Chilson. He turned and left through the alley, and Monster Truck followed. I'll see you later, Maddox said, glaring at Travis. He held up both middle fingers as he backed away. Count on it. Travis waited until they all turned the corner, then picked up Haunt Fox and put it in his backpack. I'm sorry, said Bradley, coming up behind. I should have backed you up right away. Don't worry about it. The phone was smart. Did you really call anyone? Bradley shook his head and slumped slowly to the ground. I hate them, he said, his hands over his face. I really hate them. Travis was still juiced up from the almost fight. Grabbing Bradley by the shirt, shoving him around, he'd actually enjoyed that part a little bit, even if it was to keep him from getting killed. Bradley kept talking, shaky-voiced, heaving words as if he couldn't get them out fast enough. We were sort of friends, Josh and me, when we were little. Then he started picking on me. Last year, when he was still in middle school, I was scared to go to the bathroom even. Travis stopped pacing and sat at the edge of the merry-go-round. He leaned over and picked up a couple of rocks. And when you came up, they were saying all the stuff they're going to do to me. And if you wouldn't have showed up, Travis... Bradley tried to suck in a sob, but it got loose, and then he couldn't quit. Travis had never seen anyone cry that hard before. Nobody but himself on the bridge. The cold wind blew through, and Travis shivered. He wanted to leave before those guys came back, but he couldn't leave Bradley crying all alone in the dirt. Hey, it's okay, he said. Really, come on. Bradley's whole body shook and jerked so hard that Travis felt it himself, deep in his chest. Finally, Bradley slowed down and took a big, shaky breath. He scrubbed his face with the back of his hand and turned to Travis. You're going to hate me now, too. Nope, said Travis. Not for that. Why do I have to be so scared? Everybody's scared of something. You're just saying that to make me feel better. No, I'm not. Bradley stared until Travis looked away. You really are like the Master Chief, he said. You neutralized all three of them just because I'm on your squad. Aren't you scared of them at all? A little, Travis shrugged. 3-on-1, that's something to watch out for. I've never been in a fight, but you didn't even hit anybody. They just backed off. That was true. Travis hadn't hit anybody. He just growled like Larry the dog. No concussions, nobody on the ground, no cold sludge in his guts. Come on, he said. I'll walk you as far as the bridge in case they're still hanging around. They walked in silence until they got in sight of the bridge. The picnic table was empty. I lied when I told Velveeta I don't lie, said Bradley. I lie all the time to my dad. I leave early for school so I won't run into those guys, and I say it's to study. That's why I was in the locker room yesterday morning. I say I have chess club after school, but really I stay in the school library or wait in the park until they leave the picnic table. Geez, Bradley, said Travis. I'm unasking Velveeta to the dance. You should ask her. She likes you better. Are you scared to ask her? Is that what you're scared of? Travis shrugged. It's okay, I won't tell. Velveeta on Thursday. I've been wearing the same scarf for 4 days in a row. It's my only one now and forever. If I knew I could only have one, I would have kept that orange one. Walking towards school, I thought about no scarves and no trailer, never again. When I got to the library, my feet turned. They took me to the back door, and I sat there on the cold cement, freezing until Connie showed up. She let me in, even though the library doesn't open until 10. I told her about Sylvia not giving me the scarves, and then I started crying and couldn't stop. Connie hugged me. Nobody ever touched me anymore. Not even a pat on the shoulder. That made me cry harder. Connie got me some Kleenex and asked if I was ready to go to school, and I told her if I went there, I'd puke. She asked if I'd eaten anything, and I said no. After some hemming and hawing, she said I could spend the day at the library, but I couldn't just sit there. Did I have any homework? I pulled out Book Thief, and Connie got this funny squinted-eyed look in her face, kind of like someone was stabbing her and telling her a joke at the same time. She asked me how far I was, and I told her I was almost done, but it was too depressing to finish. The girl Liza already learned how to read, and now everything is about war and people dying. Connie said I could stay at the library all day if I finished the book. I told her she is in cahoots with McQueen, and that's probably illegal, but she pointed at the book and said she'd be back before 10 and locked the door on her way out. She came back with scones and muffins from the bakery and sent me to the study room to keep reading. I couldn't eat because that book made me cry so hard I couldn't even breathe. Connie said to keep reading and keep breathing. Like that was easy. Tears and snot just about came out of my butt. I cried so hard. After I finished the book, Connie fixed up a spot in the study room with a pillow. I told her that Calvin being dead is like a long-fingered claw that keeps scratching at my heart. She said she knows that claw. She said grief is a rough ride, but the only way through it is through it. Then she told me to take a nap. Liza the book thief was tough. I'm not tough. I'm not anything.